All right, no intro today because I want to kind of bring up some points and address some points. Now, my last video was kind of controversial, which makes sense. Videos of that nature are just generally controversial anyway, regardless of what you say. But I kind of wanted to go back over that video and clarify on some things that I had glossed over or just not explained well enough, because I was excited to make that video. So there's some things I didn't explain in the best way or just didn't say overall. And I typically have a hard time describing my thoughts and explaining my thoughts in a way that someone other than myself would understand, which leads me to ramble and repeat myself a lot. But again, I'm doing it now. Like I said, I just wanted to clarify some things from that video. In the first one, before anything else, I didn't think I'd really have to say this even more than I already have, but none of this is confirmed. All right, nothing here is confirmed or outright stated to be true. Everything I've said in that video and have continued to say about the Saga and Blade connections is just speculation and inferring upon the connections that are there. All right, I've said it many times, I'll say it again, this is just speculation. Nothing here is confirmed. So even though I might say something is something else, this thing means this, or this is connected to this, or I might say something that sounds like it is the case, it's all just speculation. All right, I don't think I need to say that before every single point, but everything I say in that video, on Twitter, wherever, is all just speculation and what I think based upon what we have and the information that we have. So don't take any of this as fact. Also, plenty of times throughout the video, I would say that the Xenosaga stuff is canon, that Xenosaga is now canon to Xenoblade. This is obviously just what I believed. It's not confirmed that the Xenosaga stuff is canon, although Future Deemed highly hints that it might be. There's never been outright confirmation that Xenosaga is canon. So when I say that, that is just what I believe, and all of my cases I make for how Saga could fit into Xenoblade are based off the belief that it is canon. All this Saga stuff could very well not be canon and just be references, and I would be completely wrong. And if that was the case, then yes, I admit that I was wrong and all of my Saga stuff went nowhere, which is fine, all right? This is all just theorizing and speculation anyway. So if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I'm not Takahashi. I don't know how the hell or what the hell is coming next. That's up to him. So when I say this stuff is canon, it's obviously not confirmed. That is just what I believe. The first thing I want to mention is the Xenoblade X stuff, because the way I framed it, the way I said it, I specifically said to debunk the Xenoblade X stuff. That makes it seem like I'm a vehement Xenoblade X denier and that those references and connections to X weren't there and that y'all are all stupid. That's not what I was getting at. My argument is more so that Future Deemed is hinting more at Xenosaga and the connections of Xenosaga to Xenoblade. While every Xeno game was hinted at there and referenced in the radio broadcast, along with Xenogears, Xenoblade X, Xenosaga, all of them were referenced there in the broadcast. My main argument is that whatever is next for Xenoblade, or just from Monolith in terms of Xeno in general, is going to be something related to Xenosaga, all right? I don't want it to seem like I don't think Xenoblade X is going to ever be connected to the series, because some point down the line, Xenoblade X could be retconned or connected back to the main trilogy. My main point is that Xenosaga is much more heavily referenced than everything else, that this is kind of a big hint that, hey, something next is happening regarding Xenosaga at some point, whether that be Xenosaga being integrated into Xenoblade 4 or Xenosaga remakes / remasters, whatever, something about Xenosaga is coming. So I'm saying it here, I don't not believe that Xenoblade X could be connected or that it was referenced there. It was referenced there, and I will get on to that in a second on how it was referenced and how we know it is Xenoblade X. But my main argument is that Future Redeemed is hinting at Xenosaga stuff more, and that Xenosaga is going to be happening more recently than Xenoblade X. You know, they could be dropping something about Xenosaga, then X, and then Xenoblade 4. Or Xenosaga, Xenoblade 4, or Xenoblade X. Or they could just fuck around and do X first, and then maybe Xenosaga never, or Xenosaga after that. We really don't know. My main point is that I think Xenosaga is the bigger focus right now out of that and X. Although there are a lot of things that contradict and would need to be retconned to fit Xenosaga in. The same is true for Xenoblade X, and there's many arguments on both sides on which one would be easier to fit in and which one is up next, because there's a lot of Xenosaga fans who don't like Xenoblade X, and there's a lot of Xenoblade X fans who don't like Xenosaga who don't want either to happen. So there's a lot of argument on either side. And just to give a bit of a refresher as to why, I mean, not only did Dmitry Yuriev get name dropped, we also had the Vector radio, and then the very last cutscene of Xenoblade Future Redeemed is very, very close, damn near mirroring the last cutscene of Xenosaga 3. So it's kind of pretty big hinting at that Xenosaga is getting more of a focus right now, with it having more references. If all of this was about Xenoblade X, we very well could have just gotten the radio have the Sakuraba Industries logo on it instead of Vector. But Vector was deliberately put there for a bigger Xenosaga hint than just, if it was just the Dmitry Yuriev name drop and nothing else, then sure, okay, there wouldn't really be a case for Saga. But that paired with the radio, paired with the last cutscene, it kind of all just comes together as Xenosaga is going to be the focus next. And to give some evidence for the Xenoblade X side of things and why people think Xenoblade X is a possible thing up next, in the Japanese version of Xenoblade X, the Earth Life Colonization Project and Project Exodus were not in the Japanese version. It was called Pan Immigration Plan, meaning the ECP, the Earth Life Colonization Project, and Project Exodus were specifically added in the localized versions. Those were not in the Japanese versions at all. Now, mind you, in Future Redeemed, again, Earth Life Colonization Project and Project Exodus were also added there. So those two terms, the developers and localizers went out of their way to put those in the game. And only Xenoblade X has these terms. So yes, those are some references and connections back to Xenoblade X. Another thing X believers use as kind of proof that X is canon to the trilogy is the whole mothership thing, with the motherships, the rest of the motherships launching in July. Now that is the same year that the White Whale launched from Earth in Xenoblade X. However, the dates don't line up between Xenoblade X and Future Redeemed. I'm going to just play a clip from one of Luxon's videos that explain this, because I feel like he just explains it better than I could, as well as some stuff that kind of supports the theory that Xenosaga is a lot more likely to be canon to Blade now than X is.
You may also notice that this pretty handily debunks one of the biggest pieces of X-copium I've seen going around, that one of the new Philadelphia-class motherships was in fact the White Whale. It's outright stated that the White Whale was launched and Earth was destroyed in the year 2054, and the closest year to that without going over, with the Wednesday, May 16th, is 2046. This means that 8 years and change would have to pass between this bill being a very hotly debated thing among the public, and it getting shot down and the war progressing to the point where people and artificers were trying to take the conduit. That seems somewhat reasonable, but with the heightened level of technology and the fact that Dmitry Yuriev of all people was involved, suggests to me that the timeline is a bit more condensed than that. That doesn't matter though, because what people are saying is that because the next ship is going to launch in July, that ship is the White Whale, which launched in July. Except for the fact that it's July of the same year as the radio broadcast, which by calendar cannot be 2054. And also, it's said that the Philadelphia-class ship can only carry 1.5 million people, when we are directly told that 20 million people were aboard the White Whale. And the best part is, all of that doesn't matter, because in the Xenoblade trilogy and Xenosaga, Earth was destroyed due to experiments with the Zohar or conduit going wrong. In Xenoblade X, Earth was destroyed as collateral between two warring alien, not human rebel, factions fighting above the planet. One of those factions, the Ghosts, had vehicles powered by antimatter, and it was a bunch of those antimatter cores contacting the surface of the planet that caused it to explode. And yes, I said explode. That kind of directly contradicts with the whole fact that there is a physical Earth present again at the end of Future Redeemed. Earth in X was effectively destroyed by a massive annihilation event, where, in the trilogy, Earth was technically not even destroyed. It was ripped apart in two by Klaus's experiment, and according to Xenosaga, it was never explicitly said it was destroyed either, as it was just rendered inaccessible, with the leading theory that it was shrunk down to Planck scale, or basically rendered infinitesimally small. What Future Redeemed is saying is that it wasn't made small, the experiment ripped it apart into two, and those two pieces were in pocket dimensions. Yeah, we're actually bringing back my old Xenoblade 1 was a pocket dimension theory. That was totally disproven by 3, but it turns out that 1 and 2 were both pocket dimensions, encompassing different aspects of Earth, which was known in that universe by people who had left it as Lost Jerusalem. It is extremely important to the lore of Xenosaga that aliens do not exist, when it was aliens that were responsible for Earth's destruction in X. It's also been outright shown that it was human rebels responsible for the war over the conduit in the trilogy that ultimately led to Earth's destruction. Xenoblade X and Xenosaga cannot take place in the same universe no matter what you do, and the lore of the Klaus trilogy has lined up with Saga way more ever since 2, and this is just adding more on top of that. There are a few things that may be contradictions that I will get into later with the Saga stuff, but even then, that is mostly light retcons. In order to fit X in, you would not only need to completely disregard all of the Saga stuff that works perfectly, but also fundamentally alter the universe we've seen so far in the trilogy.
Now that all that Xenoblade X stuff is out of the way, there's something else I wanted to clarify regarding to whenever I mention Xenosaga 4. For whatever reason, at least on Twitter, people seem to take offense to that and go all about like, oh, why would they make a game to another game to a series that's hasn't gotten a game in a long time. Xenosaga was forever ago, whatever. And this, although the point I'm about to make isn't really related to that, I never really understood that whole argument. Oh, this series hasn't gotten a game in X number of years. Why would they make one now? That argument doesn't really hold weight because look at Kid Icarus. The last game it got before Uprising was on the Game Boy. So the amount of years since the last game doesn't really matter because also Metroid, there's almost a decade between each game anyway, so that point doesn't really hold a lot of weight. That's not important. What is important though, when I talk about Xenosaga 4 and I say Xenosaga 4, at least to me, I thought I already clarified this, but I guess not. When I say Xenosaga 4, I don't mean the next game in the Xenosaga series. I've already mentioned a lot in that last video and on Twitter. I feel like Xenosaga 4 and Xenoblade 4 will kind of relatively be the same game. The next game will obviously still be Xenoblade. It will be Xenoblade 4, but it will have a lot of story points and lore of what Xenosaga 4 originally was supposed to be that implemented into Xenoblade 4. So kind of Xenoblade 4 being a retelling or a continuation of where Xenosaga left off, Obviously still in the style of Xenoblade and mainly a Xenoblade game, but mixing in some stuff from Xenosaga. So it would kind of be Xenoblade and Xenosaga in the same thing, bringing over some concepts and stuff from Xenosaga, because like we saw at the end of Future Redeemed, that is most likely, and I'm not going to say it is or most likely because people still take it the wrong way. I am speculating that that is Cosmos finally finding Lost Jerusalem and falling back down to Lost Jerusalem. And like we saw, the two worlds combined back into the original Earth, because Xenoblade 1 and Xenoblade 2 were both separate pocket dimensions and were split apart. And then they finally came back together at the end of Future Redeemed, and that blue light is Cosmos falling back down to Lost Jerusalem, which is where Xenoblade or Xenosaga 3 left off. So Xenoblade 4 could pick up on some older Xenoblade characters that we know, because even though it is the end of the Cloud Saga, that doesn't mean the new saga or story arc can't include characters from the Cloud Saga. Since the worlds are rejoined back together, we could have some characters like Shulk, Rex, Matthew, Noah, and Mio, whatever, all set out to investigate the blue light that fell. It turns out to be Cosmos, and she lets the party know what's happened and why she's the way she is. And then eventually we come across Chaos, and as well as Nephilim and Abel, and they have the Zohar and stuff like that. Okay, it's very surface level, but there is a way to continue Xenosaga to fit in with Blade. But I'm not going to get into that whole thing because I don't want to turn this into another speculation video. I just kind of wanted to clarify on some things. So yes, to recap, Xenoblade X could very well be happening as well. And those were definitely Xenoblade X connections or references in Future Redeemed. But Xenosaga seems to be a lot more likely of a candidate to be intertwined with Xenoblade. Making Xenosaga canon to Blade would be a lot easier than making Xenoblade X canon to Blade. To the main trilogy, I should say. And that I think Xenosaga 4 and Xenoblade 4 could be implemented in relatively the same way. So they're basically one and the same. They're kind of the same game, picking up where Xenosaga 4 left off, obviously with some Xenoblade stuff in there. And the new story arc for Xenoblade after the Cloud Saga could be, you know, finishing off Xenosaga, and it could be Xenoblade Chronicles, a saga continues, or Xenoblade Chronicles, a saga begins, something like that, a title like that or something. And also to those people who say, oh, even if that, all right, why would they make a fourth Xenosaga when the other three games, that would just force people to play Xenosaga 1, 2, and 3, which they don't, it's already hard enough to get a hold of those games. So that would be a large amount of the player base not knowing what's going on because they can't play Saga 1, 2, and 3, which is another point as to why I think Xenosaga 1, 2, and 3 could be getting some sort of re-release, whether that be a remaster, a remake, or just simply a port before we get Xenoblade 4. All right, that could be what Takahashi's talking about when he says that Xenoblade 3 is a stopping point. So perhaps we could get a Xenosaga re-release at some point to kind of hold us over until Xenoblade 4 comes out. And that's not already something that hasn't happened. We already had that. We got Xenoblade DE, a remaster of Xenoblade 1 while we were waiting for Xenoblade 3. So they could very well do that exact same thing with Xenosaga re-release to build up to a Xenosaga 4 game. So, I mean, there's many ways they can figure this out and make Saga work in Blade, okay? And while there are a lot more counter arguments to the Saga stuff, That's just how discussions work. There's always going to be a counter argument regardless of what it is, and things that make sense and things that don't make sense. My point of view in what I'm saying is that, yes, nothing's confirmed. We don't know what is next. It just seems most likely that Xenosaga is coming up next, whether that be re-releases or implementing Saga stuff into the next Blade game. Most likely. That's not hard confirmed canon. That's what most likely means. It is likely to happen, but not guaranteed to happen. So I feel sometimes people just want to take things the wrong way just to have something to complain about, or at least on Twitter. And yes, well, this is a vocal minority. It is very annoying, okay? So I just wanted to clarify some things. That little last part was just a petty rant, but the majority of this video is pretty valid clarifications, I would say. I'm not talking about this whole Saga stuff anymore, okay? This is the last video on it until we get some more information on what's next for Xenoblade, because first, I don't really like making controversial videos like this. I don't like being controversial. And second, it just makes my anxiety go ballistic. So no more stuff about the whole Xenoblade, Xenosaga connection stuff until we get any more information. All right, so I will be finishing the Xenosaga playthrough though. That is almost done. I will be dropping the next couple episodes to that in the next couple days, as well as my copy of Xenogears is finally coming in today. I bought a physical copy of Xenogears from eBay, and that shit is coming in today. I'm so hyped for that. So as soon as I finish Xenosaga 3, I can hop into doing a Xenogears playthrough. I'm so damn hyped for that. I've been waiting so long to play Xenogears, and I'm sure a lot of you would like to come along with me in this playthrough. Some people who've already played Gears and just want to see a different perspective on it, or some people just like me who will be going into Gears blind, who can't play it themselves. So I'm excited for that. No more Saga Blade stuff. But after I do finish Xenosaga 3, I will be making a lot more Xenosaga videos now that I've played the entire series, and then naturally same thing for Gears. When I beat that, I'll make Gears videos. So I'm excited. I love the Xeno series, and I'm ready to experience where it all started from with Gears. But with all of that being said, see you next mission and play some goddamn Xenoblade.